My name is Dan Bender. I'm president of the OSGi Alliance. I know some of you here are members of the OSGi Alliance. And for those of you who are, thank you for your contributions. For those of you who aren't, we welcome new members. If you have any curiosity of what it takes to become a member, please feel free to contact me. And I'm glad to talk to you. I'll be around today at the conference. We will be announcing the winners of our IoT voting contest at closing, so hopefully you'll stick around for that. This is the last session for the OSGi community event part of this joint conference. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Next up is Walt Bowers. He'll be talking to us about OSGi simplifying the IoT Gateway. Walt is a technical solution architect with Eurotech. He's also a contributor to the Eclipse Kura project and a member of our new IoT expert group within the OSGi Alliance. We just had our kickoff meeting in Turin, Italy last month, well, September, I guess.
Yeah,
and,
September.
I think it was last month because in October, but we're into it. So, and we will be having another meeting of our expert groups in Chicago in the near future. So, and with that, Walt, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, we're actually happy to now have Eurotech be part of the OSGi Alliance. So, whoops, let me get my mouse to the right place. So, just real quick, just kind of let you know where I'm going to try to head to real quick, because I'm just going to give you a quick overview of Eurotech, because most people haven't heard of us. Talk about what makes IoT gateways, some complexity of those, what we think can make it simple, using OSGi and some open source stuff, a real life use case, which I actually have up here, and then I'm going to show you how parts of how OSGi was leveraging that, and then a demo. Now, if you stay on your Wi-Fi, it affects, if I can get everybody off, I had great connection earlier when everybody was eating, and then right after lunch, there was no internet access. So, you know, that's always risky at a place like this, but we'll see how much of it. The local part I can show, it's the cloud part that may have, your mileage may vary depending on how many geeks are on online at the time. So Eurotech, we are really an embedded computer market is where we've come from. Lots of people OEM our stuff, embedded boards. We've now moved into software to support the hardware, and we have in various vertical markets, defense, healthcare, etc. Most recently, we are active in the Eclipse IoT. Actually, Eurotech was one of the founding members in 2012 when we started it up with IBM and Sierra Wireless, two of the other companies that were helping out with that. We're contributors to Kura. We actually contributed ESF, which is our commercial product. The core of that got contributed to Kura as the underlying, as for part of the IoT for the platform. And we're now finally part of the OSGi Alliance. We are longtime users. ESF was based on OSGi and we've been using it forever, but we're new members. And now we're going to be involved in the IoT expert group with the OSGi Alliance. This is a high-level overview of Eurotech's view of the world. So this may just give you some framework for when we talk about what we're doing later, which is we build the hardware, but we also want to open source it because we know we want developers to quickly get to market. And I'll show you that, how going from a Raspberry Pi up to an industrial type gateway. We use Kura, which our ESF is based on, up to a cloud platform, which we have a cloud, MQTT on the other side of a cloud platform. But it's not trying to compete with the Oracles, IBMs, so we're not trying to be Bluemix, we're not trying to be the Oracle cloud. We get the data, give you some device management pieces of it, ways to download the software using OSGi, some other things like that, and then give these higher applications the ability to come collect the data from us. Or, framework's flexible, you can send the data straight to your own cloud if you want to as well. So, and I'll show some pieces of that as we go along. So IoT gateways, this is one of them up here that Eurotech makes. Turn the Raspberry Pi into one, a lot of people do. Why are they so difficult? And a lot of times at first blush, they seem like they might be pretty straightforward, but when you start actually getting one that you want to actually go deploy a real application in, there's a lot of complexities that come in. And it's around fragmentation, complexity, and lock-in of your gateways. Fragmentation, for any of you in the IoT space, fragmentation is everywhere. There's sensor protocols, and this is just a smattering of them. Are you going to pick Zigbee, Z-Wave, CAN bus, Modbus, Bluetooth, Bluetooth low energy, DECT, proprietary, right? You got to decide that. Standards, there's one M2M, Thread, Allseen, the Industrial Internet Consortium, IEEE, and those are just kind of the top of the list of standards bodies, right, that are arguing over some of these protocols. Hardware, you're going to be ARM, Intel, proprietary, what are you going to run on? What are your protocols up to the cloud? You're going to use MQTT, lightweight M2M, CoAP. I mean, it's all over the place, right? Of fragmentation that still has not coalesced around anything yet. May not coalesce around anything for a while, but it's still kind of a little bit the Wild West. Complexity, when you start to build the gateways, complexity comes in. You have security, both from several different directions, right? People want to secure the data to and from the sensors and the data that you're collecting on the gateway. You need to be able to secure the data that you pass upstream to the cloud. So security, your network security. You've got reliability. How reliable are you going to be? Is it going to be best effort? Are you going to try to store and forward everything? How much do you keep? Lifecycle management. Bosch guy was talking about, what do you do when you want to upgrade? Right, and you no longer is it out there, or was the BMW? No, BMW was talking about what do you do when it's out there and you want to upgrade it, right? One of the keynotes. Network management. How are you managing the LAN, the WAN? Are you going to use a cellular backhaul? If you're cellular, in a lot of these instances, right, you've got other issues to manage like cost, bandwidth. It's not like having an always-on connection. How are you going to manage that? Quality of service. All types of complexities kind of enter into this. And then lock-in. If you're an application developer or a company wanting to provide a platform, how locked in do you want to get to a particular solution based on that complexity and that fragmentation, right? You can get locked into your hardware. May or may not be a bad thing. If you're a company like Eurotech, we build hardware, we like that at one level, right? But a lot of people don't. Your vertical market. A lot of these IoT solutions are actually applicable across many markets, but it turns out because of the protocols and some of that other stuff, you get locked into a particular vertical market with your solution, right? And you don't really want to get locked in. The protocols and the sensors, all of that are kind of the things that can lock you in and not allow you to have your applications and your gateways be deployed as wide as you would like them to. So, our solution to this is how do we make this simple? How do we kind of reduce some of that complexity for you? How do we make this better is using OSGi as the core part of the platform combined with open source. So from the OSGi perspective, why use OSGi? For an IoT gateway stack, for kind of the core part of it. This is kind of a standard stack if you were looking at it. We got some hardware, Linux. This could be both on the Raspberry Pi, actually the Edison. This guy here. Java. Then we put OSGi. And the things that you get from OSGi, and I'm not going to go into the gory details right here of all the benefits of OSGi. There's been several talks all week about it, but with the modularity and the services, right, between those two kind of key core items, gives you this easier integration into complex systems. Your modules plug in and out. You're isolated from some of that complexity around you. It also helps isolate you from some of the fragmentation because you can now depend on the interfaces that are clean It's nice and easy to pull stuff in and out as you can discover the interfaces and also just depend on the interface and not depend on some of the backline protocols, or you can swap those protocols out easier. Why open source? You know, there's actually, and you can go look at this, a lot of this comes from this website down here. You know, shrinking time frames, velocity of change. I think we're all aware of kind of a lot of the open source things. If you're here at Eclipse, you're probably thinking open source. Interoperability, quest for quality without lock-in. So open source is where we think needs to drive this. So in Eclipse, the thing that combines these two things, which is an OSGi framework for IoT gateways, is Kura. So Kura, like I said, Eurotech contributed it. The core part of it, there's now many other people contributing things to it, and it is based on OSGi, and it's open sourced for you. Here's a look a little bit under the covers. I'm not, again, contact us, talk to me afterwards, we can go into more details. I'm not going to go into everything that's included in Kura. It's actually quite a bit. And I think Luca, who's also with Eurotech, gave some details on this over in the IoT track. But it provides some device abstraction, and you can contribute more. Would love to have some, like Bluetooth, your GPIO card. We have, you know, security built in. There's some basic services added on to OSGi, and we leverage a lot of the OSGi services, which I'm going to talk about later. Connectivity, put your applications, your custom protocols, your device abstraction in. We also, Kura gives the ability to do remote management. So you can manage this both from a local web and from a cloud installation. I'll try to show you both of those. And then it comes built in with an administration GUI that you can just connect to the device and pull the GUI up. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with that GUI right off the bat. So if you download Kura, you get all of that part for free. Part of the developer experience that we want for this, because it's open source, for you to quickly bring it down, emulate, test it on your PC or your Mac. I'm looking at VJ. You know, then quickly deploy on your target, right? Then move it out to the cloud, manage it from the cloud. So you can kind of take baby steps along the way. The other thing that we see, which is part of doing the open source and with some hardware abstraction and stuff, is this ability to start with open hardware, open cheap hardware, get your proof of concept, get your application running, show your manager, your boss, whoever's got to write the check that it will work, prove out the business case. Then as you deploy, you move up the ladder depending on what market you're going in. For example, I love Raspberry Pis, and actually the process I'm going to show you earlier, we built it first on the Raspberry Pi, quick and easy. But if you're deploying this on a train, which are some of these gateways right here, the guts of this are similar to these, but it's a ruggedized, built for industrial, built for the railroad, right? They're not, you know, the German railway is not going to let you put a Raspberry Pi on the dashboard to control their train, right? But the idea is that the exact same software actually works all the way up. No change in your software, no change in what you had to do, your application works. And so you can quickly kind of move up and scale up hardware as well as in the software part of the equation. So I want to talk about use case. And this is we've genericized it, but it's a real world use case where somebody was coming to us and was talking about kind of a cold chain. They needed to monitor what's going on inside a truck, greenhouse, you're transporting goods. Could we do that? They weren't sure how much they wanted to invest up front, so we needed kind of a quick way to show them if this would work. So what we did is, there's a company that they were already looking at and that we had talked to. It's Monet. I don't know if you've heard of them. They make, and this is part of the challenge of IoT, there's these proprietary RF. I can't remember what the exact frequency they're on, although there's nobody from the European Union government here, is it? These are probably US frequencies, so shouldn't go outside the room. Right? But they're coin cell, small, they make them, they're industrial. So they wanted to use those. So we were thinking, how can we connect that in and show the concept? So we actually got like a wine cooler. That wine cooler is about this big. They didn't give me one, or a beer cooler. There's one like in our home office and one that they use for trade shows. They also wouldn't let me bring it here. But, so we don't get to see that part of it, but use your imagination. But it's kind of the same thing that goes on in a truck, right? Is the door open? Is the door closed? What's the temperature? What's the humidity? Wanted to run it through, get data up to the cloud, and then kind of develop a kind of a quick and easy dashboard for them to show it. So what was our process? And this is what we did for this. We took a Raspberry Pi, downloaded Kura, the latest version of Kura onto it, hooked up this USB dongle, which is this thing right here, which is what they have. This company had this little USB dongle that talks their RF, but then you kind of got to know how to talk to their USB dongle. Leveraged the Kura services, like the USB service, so we could quickly, didn't have to figure that out. We could talk to the USB port. Cloud services to get the data upstream to the Eurotech cloud. Use some configuration admin. There's some tweaking and some stuff you want to do on these sensors, like how often you want them to report and things like that. We're quickly able to build that in. So really in less than 2 days, we had temperatures going up to the cloud. And you may ask, well, why the 2 days? All the time was really spent decoding that stuff into something meaningful, right? Because that's what we're getting from the USB. But that's not uncommon in IoT, right? The part where you're adding value is here. You're getting the data from the sensors, or you want to make decisions on the data that you're getting from the sensors. So this is where you want to be spending your time, not on how do I set up MQTT, or making the decision on how I want to send it up, right? Not figuring out how to talk to the USB port, but actually working on the data that's there. And so needless to say that this little device here, though, was new. This was something new for them that they were putting out, too, so our documentation was scant at the time, so it was a lot of time between me and a developer talking on the other side going, okay, which byte, right? Where's the temperature in there? And so some of the keys to why that worked so fast after we could decode the data was OSGi underneath. And in particular, there's a lot of things like the modularity, the other stuff that I talked about earlier, but I just want to talk about some of the key pieces that Kura used that was helped us, right, in developing this. Declarative services, these are not uncommon for people that have done OSGi for a while. Metatype, configuration admin, and the deployment admin service. And now some more nerdy slides and less pictures. Not meant to be complete. This is kind of a sample code, but it is the real code from there. Declarative services. We needed this gateway to both use services and expose its services out. It was beautiful, right? Declarative services. Kura has a cloud service that you can use, right? That all you have to do is declarative services, we want to use that service. Then in my class, all you have to do now is implement the cloud service listener. You get your cloud services that come from you, and I can start publishing stuff to the cloud. I didn't have to worry about how to build it, what to connect. It handles all of that for you. And I didn't have to worry about all the old school of figuring out how to discover the service and everything else. It's magic. It is. I'm looking at looking at VJ. Yeah, I mean it is. It's magic, and it works wonderfully. Right? Takes very little time to do that. The meta type service. So you can go in and define different attributes that you want on your in your classes. And what Kura does is pulls this out and actually gives you a GUI that you can then go modify these. And then it uses the config admin service, so they're kind of used together, to then call back to your program so somebody can change it, notify you that a configuration changed, and you can change your program. So it is a quick and easy way to get configuration down to your program or your application. So here's like the reporting interval. These little sensors are actually pretty sophisticated, and we simplified them for this, but one of the things you can tell it is how often you want to ping to talk to you to report its data. You're always balancing, you know, the more often it has to crank up the radio, the less time the batteries last. So it's always kind of a measurement on that. But once you did that, outside of the little icon that we had to do a little, you know, we had to go add that in or point it to a URL for that, you automatically get in the Kura web interface, when you build this meta type, you get a configuration screen for free. You don't have to build it, you don't have to write any HTML, you don't have to do anything. You get this screen, you can apply it. When you apply it, it'll go through and call config admin and call a do update for you, so you know it'll give you a map of those properties so that you can then go take them and do what makes sense for your application. For us, this is where part of the complexity came in, part of that 2 days, because there's actually a little sequence you have to go through to these guys to tell the sensor to listen for an extra command and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was nice. We didn't have to worry about how to build a GUI to the interface. We could just concentrate with Monet on how to get the sequencing right, to put the sensor in the right mode, to tell him here's the configuration for you. Deployment admin, the deployment admin, I'm not going to show, well, I'm going to show it to you when I show part of the screens. We use the deployment admin services, so you can package this up so you can remotely manage it and download the apps, both from the local GUI or also from the cloud for that. So now I'm going to shift over and show you some live screens and some of what's really going on up here. Again, it all depends on, part of this will work beautifully because it's local, and it just depends on how many of you are on the Wi-Fi, because we don't have Ethernet connection in here, and I'm kind of stealing is probably the wrong term, borrowing the Wi-Fi through my router. So we'll, what was that? Yes. So let me start with, pull this over here. There we go. So here is that screen that I was just showing you a minute ago, and this is the live screen. This is, if you go to Kura, you can go to, you point yourself, this is running on this Raspberry Pi, which was the first device that we got this running on. And you get all kinds of administrative stuff out of the box. And over here, the packages, this is the deployment package that went down and tells you what bundles it installed from the deployment package. We're only putting one in this particular one. You can actually group them. We may want to move to systems. We'll have to see how that plays in, but right now we're using deployment packages. built into Kura for that. Here are some of the other default services that come with Kura. Oops, I'll change the screen size. Yeah. Sorry, I can't drive well on the other screen. Right, you have a cloud service, an MQTT service. So the cloud service ends up using the MQTT data transport service. That's kind of hidden from you the way that it's designed. So in theory, you can swap out the MQTT transport service for a CoAP service or for a whatever service you want. The cloud service should still work for you. Inside the system, you can go look at kind of some device information and built-in networking stuff on here. More sophisticated gateways like some of the Eurotech routers or Eurotech gateways can also act as a router. So you can make it a Wi-Fi router if you really wanted to out of it. Some people do for that. So then the information's getting published up to our cloud, and this is where this is real time. So I'm going to move this temperature sensor, and we'll show it over on a screen too. But with the internet. By the way, if you've talked in front of one, this thing, that's nice for my demo because it is pumping out a lot of heat out of this side here. But we may not get to see it change real time, especially as Firefox doesn't like that it's tied up, but we can do, while we're waiting on that.
Just refresh.
Oh, okay. We'll see if if the temperature starts to go up there. For that. This is kind of a quick dashboard that we just put together. So this dashboard is actually talking to our cloud service over some REST calls and some to get the data, and so it should update dynamically if the internet is working for me right now. If not, we can always pull up a.
Just changed.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, 77. So I think it goes up to like 80 something or something over here. Part of the delay is polling rate. Part of the delay is this. So I'm actually running that on here, but it's pulling from our cloud. So we're actually having to push over the Wi-Fi network out of here, both up and pulling it back. So that goes along. So then we have they have like this door open close sensor. So I'll open it up. Saying the light is off. This light sensor sometimes has to be, see if I put it over here where he'll think he's lit. It has a calibration that you can calibrate it because it depends on the luminosity when it started up. Sometimes, so it can be kind of peculiar for that. This is part of the internet. This usually does update a little bit faster from us going up and down. Y'all couldn't see that putty screen though, could you? That's not bright enough to see anything on, is it?
No, we see some activity, but barely.
Yeah. Does anybody remember how you brighten the color on putty? I don't. Look, you did get to see it change there, waiting on the connection. So all this data, like I said, gets pumped up to our cloud, like we did before. Over here, it came back. Let me see if I can pull up a wider everything that's being pushed up, but it still says it's loading. Oh, there we go. Come on, internet. So we took that from here, got it running on the Raspberry Pi. Then this exact same software you can then load over on one of our, or any other gateway actually that runs Kura, put it on there and have it run. So that's the process we went through with the customer for this. And I do want to leave time at the end if you want to come and look at kind of show and tell. come and touch and play, to feel free to do that. Oh God, it finished loading. Incredibly slow, but we'll do it from here. These query tables don't update dynamically, intentionally. So we'll let that pull, then I'll pull that back up. Let me switch back over. Grab this guy. So we have about 5 minutes left. So what I want to do, leave time, we can have some quick questions, the obligatory vote up or down, but I also wanted to leave time before anybody else comes in, if you wanted to come in and actually touch and play with the sensors, and you can actually come see the putty session if you want to see the actual gory details coming through. I'll leave that up so you can give you time to see that. So,
now you know who originally authored the journal. So I didn't know the history of it. That's great information.
yeah.
So do we have questions for Walt?
Yes.
Is Kura home to Equinox, or is it container independent? And can you work it with Felix or some other OSGi?
Be careful how I say this. In theory, it is portable to any container. We have really primarily tested it with Equinox, and we are doing the testing for Concierge, right? To make sure that it works on that. That's where most of the testing's done. But they're outside of the configuration files and how you load the bundles and getting, like, if you wanted to go to Felix and get everything in the right place and modify the startup scripts to kind of point to the right place, all the bundles and everything should work just fine. So it's really just that initial configuration piece. Susan?
Can you elaborate a little bit on the device abstractionists might know those airlines has already started to define the device abstraction layer within the OSGi airlines, but I know that Kura is doing something as well. So is it just based on APIs that you are getting all together, or is it also rules management? So
It's not rules management. It's not overly sophisticated right now. It's really just API based. So, and oftentimes leveraging something that was already open, like the USB one uses libUSB and USB for Java, and we pull that in. It's the same thing, kind of works for the Bluetooth pieces. So there's lots of work actually to be done to actually add a kind of true device abstraction layer above that, and then have these be different services that implement that abstraction layer. It does not do that yet, but that's, hopefully the Alliance can can think about doing that. Yes, VJ.
You talked about libUSB, so obviously there are parts of Kura that are native. What platforms does it support?
Good question. It supports ARM and Intel, so it works. You can use a Raspberry Pi, you can use an Intel Edison, you can use a Beagle board.
Okay.
All of those for starting up and
It's all
so
Linux.
it's all
chipsets.
it's all Linux on both chipsets.
Okay.
Yep.
When you go over to the industrial quality machines, do you have to change to different, are they ARM, are they running the same processing?
They are running the same processing. They're running ARM or Intel. We have both versions, kind of depending, but yeah. So that actually works kind of nicely to move that over. There was a question in the back. Yes.
Yeah, are you thinking about extending configuration, this configuration module to support, for example, maps or some more sophisticated structures there? This automation UI?
I do know that there's discussion about it, and if you have ideas, we'd love to have you contribute or bring them up for that. There's also some things in the works of how we want to enhance the configuration to handle some more sophisticated configuration use cases that we have.
Just on that note, we have the same requirements, But, the
Weaving.
the company that I work for, Library. So the schema for metatype is extensible, and I'm not sure if you've played with that, but the current implementations allow you to access the extensible. For instance, the metatype from Equinox allows you to expose this extra schema information. But I think the extra schema information could be standardized, because I think we want to do many of the similar things in UI. Like, you might even want to add a button and be able to
Yep.
point to a control operation from the schema, just using extra schema, extra information. I think if you're willing, we could probably share information, contact information, and maybe start a
Yeah.
discussion around
I think that'd be great, because I know Luca and I were actually talking about that last night
Okay.
at dinner as well.
I'll come up and talk to you after.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Reliagate at Library is co-chair of our enterprise expert group. So,
Yeah, if we want to
so
start on it.
he might want to start writing up a new RFP. So, other questions? Other questions? Going on? You want to play, I know. You want to get to the heart.
Well, yeah, if you want to come up and play, I don't know how much time we have before the next,
Well,
like,
we got
a few minutes.
We're right at the deadline, but people will start coming in for the next ones in 10 minutes. So
Yeah,
thank
and I can
you
turn off.
very much.
Thank you.